Hi, good morning. Okay. In a previous session, we have discussed about the AWS one. Let me open the AWS console. Now, let me go back to the IAM. Yesterday, we have discussed about the IAM, Intent Access Management. Here we saw like how we can create the users, how we can create the roles and all. And we'll see policies and roles, right? Policies. So, as we discussed, policy is nothing but permission. Policy is nothing but permissions, right? So, let me open another AWS Management Console, login. Now, I'm logged into my AWS account using the root user details. So, I'm going to IAM and I'm click on policies. If you go to the policies, there are around 1440 predefined policies are there. Predefined policies are there. Means these are created by the AWS already. These are created by the AWS already. If we want, we can create our own policy. See, what is the policy? Policy is nothing but permissions. Let's say, for example, uh, I will search for S3 read-only access. This is the one policy. Let me click on this policy. This is the policy. Name is Amazon S3 read-only access. Means we know S3 is nothing but storage service. Read-only access means if we attach this policy to particular user, if we attach this policy to the particular user, then he can able to see the S3 bucket details. Just read only. He can see, that's all. He cannot do anything, right? Now, if you go down, what is this policy details? For example, this says that provides the read-only access to the all buckets via the AWS management console, right? Type policy AWS manager, because AWS created, when it got created, this got created 2015, estimated edited time 2023, and this is the resource name, Amazon AR nothing but Amazon resource name, right? And if you see, this is the kind of some permissions. Yes, three full list and read. List means it will list all the buckets. Read means just for reading purpose, right? What are the resources? This means how many buckets? All the buckets, right? How many buckets? All the buckets, right? Similarly, some object lambda, list and read kind of some options are available, right? Now, if you see policy versions, these are the different versions. Entities attached, any entities are there, we can see here, right? Now, let me go to permissions. And the same permissions you can see in a JSON also, right? JSON is a kind of some basic language, Java script object oriented object notation. Now here actually all the policies are in all the policies are in JSON only. All the policies are in JSON only. This is not a big language. It's a very simple one. And we don't want to write also. We have a option called we can create the using policy generator. In the previous session we saw, right? Like I already explained, like what is the version, statement, effect, action, all the things we have discussed. Like this policy is created by the AWS. Now, if whatever the policy, whatever the policies are available, if these policies are not matching for our requirement, in my project, I want to kind of some policy. That policy is need to attach to the particular group of users or user. Then that policy is not matching the existing policy. Which policies created by the AWS are not matching for my requirement? I can create my own custom policy. Click on create policy, right? There are the two options while creating the policy, either visual or JSON. If you click on JSON, you can provide the JSON code, right? If you want to visual, you can go visual, right? For example, for which service you want to this policy. For example, you want to work on for S3 means what permissions required for which service, right? For example, I'm taking the S3, right? For S3, I'm going to set permissions for S3. I'm setting the permissions for S3 means I'm creating the one custom policy. This policy is going to attach to the particular user. Then that user what can do, that is tell by this permissions, right? So what I can do. For example, there are the different options are available. For example, list option, read option, write option, permissions management, tagging. See, list there are the 14. If you expand this one, you can see what you can do. List access grants, right? List access points, list bucket. List bucket means it will return the buckets. List access grants means permissions, right? If you click on this info, it will return the information. Grant permissions to list access grant, right? If you click on this one, it will show grant permissions to list some or all the objects in the Amazon S3 bucket up to 1000, right? Up to 1000 buckets. Like these are the list options. Similarly, read, it will return the only read options. Like for example, describe job, it will return the grant permissions to retrieve the configuration parameters and the status for the batch operations of the job. For example, go down, get bucket, get object, it will return the files, right? Grant permissions to retrieve the objects from S3. Objects are nothing but files. Like there are 62 read operation permissions are there. Similarly, write operations 50 are there, right? For example, if you want to the dedicated one, like for example, I want the only list jobs, list buckets. Also, I want the get object, right? And also I want the write permissions. I want to create the bucket, right? And I want to delete the object, right? Kind of whatever the customized one, you can select all this one, right? This is for actions allowed we have created. If you expand this one, you can see we have selected the few options, right? Now minimize this one. Now go to, see, under the list, we select the list jobs. Under the read get objects, under the right, we selected the create bucket and delete bucket, right? Under list bucket, list job, list jobs. Under read, get object. Under right, create bucket and delete bucket. Now, if you resources, for which resources? Resources are nothing but ARN, Amazon resource name, ARN, right? For example, if you want for all buckets, we'll select the all. If you want the specific bucket, select the specific, and you can select the whatever you want for that purpose, right? We'll go with the all for simple purpose, for simplicity, right? Now, if you want to request any conditions, you can select this one. This is an optional. Click on next. Policy name, for example, S3, any name you can give. Custom policy, customized policy, right? That's why we provide the custom, right? If you want to give some details, this policy will help to create bucket, delete bucket, list bucket, list objects, like that. You need to provide a kind of some description, so that if any other users are trying to use your policy, they will understand what is the use of that policy, right? Right now, this is the review. Click on create policy. Policy get created, right? Policy get created. Now, if you see here, where is our policy? You can search policy here, S3 under custom. You can see here. If you see here, this is the customer managed. Previously, all are AWS managed. This is the customer because we have created, and this is the description. How you can filter this one? For example, all types. Custom managed means customer managed. Whatever we created, we can see. If it is a AWS managed one, you can see all are AWS managed one. If we create the customer, that is comes under the customer manager, we can see, right? Now we have created the policy. Now we will try to add this policy to the particular users. Let me go to user. I am going to create a one user. Let's say, for example, username is Raham, right? Username Raham. Provide the AWS management console access and custom password. I will provide the some password, right? And I don't want to ask for this one, reset the password because for dummy purpose. Attach the policy directly. Here, see here, we can see all options over here. If you want only our purpose, either you can go here and search for S3 under custom, or simply go and select here customer manager. I'm going to attach this policy, right? Click on next, click on create user, right? Now go back to here and let me go to here. I'm going to log in as an I am user, right? The new user, whatever we created. Click on sign in. Now, and account ID, right? If you go here, if you remember in a previous session we saw, right? Return to user list. Now, if you see here, go to dashboard. Either you can pass the account ID or alias name. I will take the account ID, whatever you want, SDK or IAM, right? Simply. And what is the username? Username is Raham. And I am going to provide the password. Sign in. Now I am logged into that particular user, right? Now, let me open the option. Now, if you see here, what are the, let me go back here, go to policies, customer manager policies, open this one. What permissions I have here? S3 limited read write access. There is a limited write access. Go to JSON. If you see detailed one, you can see these are the options I have. Right? These are the options I have. Okay. Right. Now I will go here. If you see here, access denied to catalog for list applications. This is a limited one. That's why you cannot see few options. See, cost issues you cannot see because you don't have an access. Let me try to go here. I will try to kind of search for some service, RDS, right? Any service. I'm going to log in as an Raham user who have the limited access, right? For example, let me try to go to the DB instance. See, it shows that Raham is not authorized to perform because we have the access, limited access. We have the limited, that's why Raham does not have the access. Similarly, go to another user called VPC, Virtual Private Cloud. Any service except S3 bucket, if you use any service, it will not allow for you. Try to click on the create VPC. VPC only. Let me try to create VPC. IPv required. '24. Click on the create VPC. See, there was an error. What is saying? User ARN AWS IAM Raham is not authorized to perform. Right? Like that, this is the limited access is there. Limited access is there. Right? Now, let me go here. I will go to S3 now. Open S3. Open S3. Now, if you go here, let me try to create the bucket. Let me try to create the bucket. General purpose only. I will go with all the default options. We don't want to explain again. First, we need to provide the bucket name, right? SDKR BKT. For example, some number I will give. This is my bucket name. Let me try to create the bucket. I'm able to create the bucket because in the because insufficient permission default create bucket we have provided or not. Let me go back here. Edit policy. Create bucket na. Yeah, successfully created the bucket. This showing insufficient permissions. There are some put operations and are is not allowed for this bucket, right? But bucket is created. See, we have provided the create bucket option here. We have provided the create bucket permission we provided. That's why we can able to create the bucket. There is some other we can there is some insufficient permissions on the bucket because see you don't have the permission to list the bucket. You cannot see the all the buckets, right? Let me go to close this one. Close this one. Now if I go here Amazon S3 and go to buckets, see you don't have the permissions. You can able to create the bucket, you don't have the permissions. Now I will go here and visual one, add more permissions. There are as of now 5 permissions are there, right? Add more permissions. For example, list bucket. You don't have the permissions to list the buckets. There is option called list all my bucket. This one we need to enable. List all my buckets. List all my buckets. I am going to now adding the permissions, right? Click on next, save changes. Now I have added the one more permissions. Now if you go here under JSON, you can see another option called list all my buckets. This is the newly added one. Now I will go to here. Let me refresh this URL. Now you can see the bucket details. See, I can see the 2 bucket details. Like that granularly you can create your own policy if required. Hope you are clear, right? This is about the policies. Like, can create the as many policies as we want based on our requirement. The next one is roles. So what is the roles? For example, let's say for example, I have an S3 bucket. I have an S3 bucket. Right? I have an S3 bucket. And there is a one user. There is a one user. Let me. There is a one user, right? If he want to connect to this S3 bucket, what we can do? What we can do? We need to attach the policy. We need to attach the policy. We need to attach the policy. What policy? For example, S3 full access. For example, S3 full access. Then he can able to. Then he can able to connect to this S3 bucket. Right? Similarly, if I have the multiple users, if I have a multiple users, let's say for example, like I have a multiple users. If I have the multiple users and these users want to connect to this bucket, either you one way is create a policy to each user or simply create a group first. Create a group first, right? After that, create the policy and attach policy to group. Then all the users can have access to S3 bucket. All the users can have access to S3 bucket. Okay, this is about how we can connect from user to any other AWS S3 bucket. Just I am example saying the S3 bucket. This can be any AWS service. This can be any AWS services, right? But here, for example, I am showing the S3 bucket. If user is want to connect to S3 bucket, we need to create the policy. The policy should have the permissions like to access the S3 bucket, and that policy we are going to attach to the particular user. Similarly, if there is a multiple users, we can create the group and we can create the policy. That policy contains the permissions. That policy is going to attach to that particular group so that the users in that group can be able to access to my S3 bucket. Now, what we can do if there is a one service, if there is a one service want to connect to other service, this service can be EC2, right? This service can be EC2 or any other. For example, this service is EC2, right? How we can do, right? Let me go here down. So let's say I'm considering the S3 to EC2. For example, this is my bucket. This is my bucket, right? This is my bucket, and here I am going to take the one service called an EC2, right? Now, on top of this EC2, I have a one application. Let's say, for example, there is a one application is running on my EC2, right? Now, this is my EC2. This is my S3 bucket. So here I have the one application is running. My one of the application is running. These applications need to connect to S3 bucket to pull the data, to load the data, or to unload the data. Right now, one way is you need to create the one user. You need to create the one user. You need to create the one user, and you need to create the one policy. Policy need to attach to that particular user, and then whenever you create the user, you need to provide the programmatic access so that there will be access key and secret key. You need to log into EC2 instance using those using the access key and secret key, so that you can able to connect to your S3 bucket, right? uh, this is user, user with a programmatic access, user with a programmatic access, so that what he will get a access key and a secret key, right? We need to create the user who will have the access key and a secret key. Okay, and also we need to create the policy with S3 access. S3 access, that can be full access, or depending upon our requirement, we need to provide the permissions. Right, we have to create the policy, and we need to attach this policy to user. Now you need to log into instance. Now we will try to connect from EC to S3 bucket, and we'll see how it will work, right? Let me go back to my AWS. Now I will go to EC2 instance, right? EC2 instance. I'm going to There is a one instance is there already. Let me go to instances we have created previously, right? This is the instance we created. If we want to create, we can create. Let me create the again. Click on the launch instance. Let's say, for example, I am going to give web server, right? Web server, right? Now we'll go with all the default options, right? Let me go down. Go to advanced options. Here we are not touching. Just go down. Go down. Use the data. Okay, here here what we can do, we can attach the some policies, we can attach the some IAM roles here. We just now we created the role, right? That we can attach the role here. For now I am not attaching, just I am going to creating the instance, right? And we need to pass the key as well. Key pair, I will take the old existing key pair, test key pair. That is enough. Click on launch instance. Now meanwhile I will open the putty. If my instance is running, click on this one. There are the two instances. There are two instances. One is the previously created, one is now. The web server now created. Let me go to connect my public IP. I will go here. I will paste this one. I am trying to connect to my EC2 instance. Expand SSH, expand authorization, click on credentials, upload our key file test, what we created previously. Right? Select this one, click open. Now click open. Now provide the username we know. What is the username? EC2-user. As we have selected the Amazon Linux, the username is EC2. If you select the Red Hat, that is a different user. Now connected, right? Hope it is visible. Now I have connected to EC2 instance. From EC2 instance, what I am trying to do? From this EC2 instance, I am trying to connect to my S3 bucket. From EC2 instance, I am trying to connect to S3 bucket. There are the few commands. For example, AWS, right? S3 LS. AWS, S3LS, there are a few commands which will help to provide the connection. For example, what is the AWS is AWS, S3 is nothing but service, LS is nothing but it will list the buckets. Click enter. But you will get an error. Unable to locate the credentials. You can configure credentials by using the AWS login. Means what it is saying, you don't have an access, right? There is no credentials, right? There is some credentials required to connect. So what we need to create the one user with the programmatic access. Let me go back to my AWS and I will go to IAM. I will go to IAM. I am going to create the existing user also is fine. Existing user also we can take, but I am going to create the new user. From the existing user, there are three users we can use it, but I am trying to create the new user just for easy purpose understanding for you. I am going to create the username called Divya. Sorry, I am going to click on the create user, right? Username I will give the Divya, right? And I need a AWS, whether this is not mandatory. Programmatic management console is not mandatory. I'm going to optional, right? Because for us this DVA is a kind of programmatic user, programmatic access user. Click on next. I'm going to attach the policy. I'm going to give the S3 full access. S3 full access. Click on next. Click on create user. Now you have created the user. Now if you go to Divya, right? Close this one. If you go to Divya, if you go to security credentials, right? As of now, no access is there because while creating user, we have not selected programmatic option. You can create that. See, let me go back to users. create user. Here, provide user access to the management console, not required. Just I will give the some dummy name. Go to next. Let me go back to previous. Okay, from user we can create it. Let me go back to the DVI user. Go to security credentials. Now go to access keys. Click on the create access key. What is the use of for us for command line interface, right? Now let me select these options. Click on the next. Create the access key. Now see here, download the CSV file. Right? We have downloaded access keys. Now done. Now I will go to location where I have these files. The access keys, right? This is the access keys. I'm going to close other files. Now this is my access key, right? Let me save as the DV access key file. Save. Now this is my access key. So what this one is asking, you don't have any credentials, you need to pass. Before that, let me, for example, ls means this is a few Linux commands. Ls means it will return the any files, right? For example, ls-a, it will return the hidden files also. Now if you see here, these are the some files are there, right? These are the some files are there. As of now, there is let me try to configure. I need to pass these credentials. I need to pass these credentials. For example, I'm going to insert this one cd dot aws cd dot ssh ls hyphen a. If you see, there is some authorized keys are there, but this is not relevant to our Snowflake. That's why this is not relevant to our connection for EC to S3. That's why what I can do, I can do AWS configure, enter. It will ask the access key. Copy this access key and paste here, enter. It will ask for the secret key. This is the second time we are doing, already we did it. The purpose is different, enter. We can go with the default region, we can go with the default language also, right? Now I'm clearing the screen. Now AWS S3 LS. Now it will return the files. There are the two S3 buckets. See, SDKR bucket 65, SDKR bucket 65. There are the two buckets. Now let me go back to my S3 bucket. See, there are the two buckets. SDKR bucket, SDKR hyphen bucket hyphen 65, SDKR hyphen bucket 65. Right? So that we can see the list of buckets. Okay. Now, let's say, for example, what I will do, AWS, I am list. See, here, if you tab this one, it will show all the whatever the options are available. These are the existing commands. It will show all this. So, for example, I want to see all the users. List hyphen users. Enter. It will return error record. Why? Because access denied. For this particular DVI user, whatever the policies we attach, the policy attached, the permissions policies attached are nothing but only S3 bucket access only. That's why we throw an error. Now I will go to IAM. I will go to IAM. Right. Go to permissions. Right. Go to permissions. Add permissions. Add permissions. Add permissions. From policy directly, I will go to IAM full access. For example, I'm going to give the IAM service access also. Now go to click on next, add permissions. We have added permission. Now I will go to here. I will try to execute the same command AWS IAM list users. Now it will return the IAM list users. What happened? Let me go to add one more permissions. This is not required actually. I think we need to repress this one. Let me try to reconnect. Go to instances, copy this public address, open putty, value, authorization, click on expand auth, click on credentials, select the file, test ppk, open, username is ec2-user. Now I will try to connect AWS. I am list users. Now it will return the users because this is the session level. We need to retry the session. See, it is showing the username called Abhi. That is the user ID. What is the ARN when created? Password last used. Divya, Jay, Rahul. Like that, it will do based on our permission. Based on permissions, right? Now, like that based on our permissions, it will do. Now, we'll go here. Now we tried this one, but what is the problem here? Here, if you remember, we have exposed our credentials here, user ID, and sorry, we have exposed our credentials. In the previous session, we have shown, we have added the access keys and secret keys, but that is not recommended. Sometimes it may be, they may be hacked it. They may be hacked it. For that, what we can do, what I can do, let's say, for example, ls-a, there is a folder called .aws. I am going to insert folder, that is the cd nothing but change directory. Right. Not stuck. Okay. Control L. I am clearing the screen. Some network is getting delaying. Let me retry to connect. Let me try to reconnect. Throwing it is stucking. So that I am going to copy, open putty, expand SSH, expand authorization, click on credentials, browse the file, test file, click open, provide the username as an ec2-user. Right. Now, if you see ls-a, there is a folder called a.aw. This folder is not available previously because whenever we configured AWS configured, then it got generated. Now I am going to insert that folder. cd means change directory .aws. I am going to insert that folder. Now see here, previously I am at here. Now this is under, after that one there is a .aws came. Now I am inside that folder. If you see ls-a, you can see there is a file called credentials, right? This credentials file contains our access key and secret key, right? For example, uh, let's say, for example, mm, now, guys, hold on 1 minute. Sorry, guys. So, if you want to see that file, what is the file? I can see credentials. See, whenever I execute the cat, it will return the file, it will open that file data. For example, see inside that file, what is there? Access key is there. and we have the secret key also. That's why this is not recommended one. This way is not recommended. So I'm going to removing this file. rm means remove. It will remove the file. Now if you see ls-a, if you see only config file is there. Previously there is a config and credentials file are there. Now I have removed that file. That's why I can see only config file. Now now if I'm coming out of from this folder AWS. Now if you see AWS S3 LS, it will return the error. There is no credentials file is available. There is no credentials file is unable to locate because we have deleted that one. Now what is the other option? The other option is create a role. Create a role. Create a role, right? And attach the policy to that role. Attach the policy to that role and attach this role to my EC2 instance. Then he can able to connect to S3 bucket. Right? We'll see this option now. This is not recommended. Right? Now I am going to create the role. That is the use of roles. Let me go to my IAM. I'm going to IAM. Here is the roles. See, there's an IAM role is an identity. You can create the specific permissions with credentials that are valid for the short duration. Roles can be assumed by entities that you short. Like there are some existing roles are there. I'm going to create our custom role. Click on the create role. What is the purpose of your role? Whether you want to allow the AWS services like EC2, Lambda or other to perform actions in this account. For example, if you want to perform some AWS services within this account, you need to select these options. If you want to connect, if you want to perform the actions on from other AWS account belonging to you or some third party applications, select these options. If you want to web identity, select this one. If you want to, this web identity will allow the users to federated by the specific external web identity providers. For example, there is some website from that website, if they want to connect to S3 bucket, you need to select this option. Similarly, SAML 2.0 federation. For example, there is some federator users are there. Like for example, if you want to allow that user to connect to this bucket, for example, this is kind of some corporate directory. Like whenever you are going to join any company, they will provide the kind of some username and password with SSO, single sign-on option, right? Kind of options like. Or if you want to create your custom one, you can create the custom trust policy, enable others to perform access. For our purpose, now we'll go with this one, right? Because we are connecting from EC to S3 bucket. What is the use case? Means to which service you want to connect. Sorry, to which service you want to attach. For example, allow AWS services like EC2, Lambda, other to perform the actions. For example, I want to attach this policy to EC2. Select the EC2, right? Allow the EC2 instance to call AWS services on behalf of. See, clearly they mentioned allow EC2 instances to call AWS services on your behalf of. Instead of you internally, the EC2 itself, it will allow, right? Now go to, these are the different options like Spot Fleet. For our purpose, this is the one. Click on next. So what permissions required for this role? Now I am going to creating role. I want to attach the policy. I want to attach the policy also. What policy? For example, I want to attach the S3 full access. Let me select these options. Click on next. Right? What is the role name? For example, role name is EC2 to S3 role. Any role name you can use. S3 role, EC2 to S3 or S3 instead I can say EC2 AWS services role. Not only S3, in future if you want to change to policy, this will give the meaningful name, right? Now this is the description. If you want to add any description, you can add it. See here clearly they mention allows EC2 instance to call AWS services on your behalf. Previously we have connected from user and we connected. Means user means physical user. That is the you. But now instead of you, the EC2 instance will collect, right? This is the policy in a JSON, right? Now go here, click on the create role. Now we have created the role. Now we will go here. I will try to execute the same command AWS S3 LS. Still we will get error. Why? Because what we did till now? We have created the role. we have created the role, we have attached the policy, but we have not attached this role to this EC2 instance. This part is not done, right? For that, let me go to EC2 instance. That's why I'm getting this error. Now I will go to EC2 instance, right? Select this EC2 instance, click on actions, go to security, go to security, modify IAM role, modify IAM role. By default, we have not provided any role. If you expand this one, you can see there is if any existing role. Just now we created the role, right? EC2 AWS service role. This role just now we created. Or if you want to create role now also, you can create the new role. Already we have created. Select that role, right? Now update IAM role. Now what I did? I have attached the policy to my EC2. Sorry, I have attached the role to my EC2 instance. Now, so that there is a proper connection is established. Now go here, execute the same command AWS S3 LS, enter. Now you can see list of files, list of buckets. Now, is there anywhere we have used any keys like access keys, secret keys, any passwords? Nothing, right? So that this is the secure one. This is the very secure one. This is the recommended one. Okay. Whenever we are trying to connect to the Snowflake to AWS also, the two ways we can have using the user credentials or using the roles. We'll see both options in a Snowflake also, but this is not recommended in a real time. Nowhere this is not recommended. This option is not recommended. Always will go with the rules only, right? Now, what I will do, I will try to AWS IAM list hyphen users. AWS IAM list users. You will get error because we have provided for this role we attached the one policy. This policy have the only S3 full access, right? We don't have IAM permissions. Now I will go to role. I will go to roles under IAM. Go to role. Select our role, right? Inside the role, if you go to trust relationship, sorry, if in permissions, if you see only this role is there, this permission is there. I am going to add one more permission, add permissions, create inline policy, sorry, add permissions, attach policies. I am going to select the IAM full access, select IAM full access, add permissions, right? Done. Now what we did here, previously here, previously we created a role, attached policy with S3 full access, so that we can able to connect only S3 bucket and we are unable to connect to IAM. Now what we did, we added IAM full access policy to existing role, or simply we modified this role. We modified this role by added this policy, so that now we can able to access the IAM policy also. Now I will go here, AWS IAM list users. It will return the users. See, previously we need to when we provide the access keys, we need to disconnect and connect. But here in role not required. It's a high automatically it will do. Clear? This is about AWS IAM. Any doubts here? Okay.
No, sir.
If not, yeah. If no doubts, we'll jump into another topic called SQS, right? Amazon SQS. So What is the SQS? SQS stands for Simple Queue Service. SQS stands for Simple Queue Service. What are the use of this one? Queues are powerful way of combining software architectures. They allows for asynchronous communication between the different systems and are especially useful when throughput of the systems are unequal. What does it mean? For example, let me open this one. I will delete this one. Now, let's say for example, I have the one. There is, for example, one service is there. One service is there. What is this one? This I am assuming this is my one of the web application. This is my one front end applications. You can say some front end applications. What it will do? It will accept the images. It will accept the images. It will accept the images. Now, similarly, there is a kind of some backend application is there. There is a kind of some backend application is there. What it will do? It will accept the images and it will process the images. So when any image came here, that image will go here. It will process here and it will store into my S3 bucket. The processed image will store. Now, for example, to process that image, it may need the, for example, 5 minutes. To process my image, it may need the 5 minutes. But one application from there is some other application is there which is dumping images to here. Within 5 minutes, it may send 100 images. But to process this image, it need a 5 minutes. So once image came, it send. Meanwhile, it is processing. So that the next image comes, it will not accept. That's why there is a throughput of these two systems are not equal. See, throughput of this system is can accept 100 images within fraction of seconds, but to process each image it take the 5 minutes. So throughput of this one is not equal, so that there is a miscommunication, some failures occurs. This is called unequal throughputs. This is called unequal, usually for throughput of the systems are unequal. Throughput of the systems are unequal, right? During that one, what we can do? And these two are tightly coupled. Instead, what we can do? This is my front-end web application, and this is my back-end processing server, and this is my S3 bucket. Right? Now, instead of this one, we can add a intermediate service which is called as a queue. So that what it will do, when any object is added, means any image is added, it will send a message here. And message will store here in the queue. And when this processing system is ready, it will pull that message. And it will read that message, so that it will take that particular image here to process. After processing, it will send to the bucket. Let's assume there is a first image came, it send a message, and this pull that message, it's processing. It take the 5 minutes. Meanwhile, there are the hundreds of images are came. Now, what it will do, simply it will send the 100 messages over here. The message will still sit over here. Nothing will happen. When this processing is available, it will take the next message. And it will read that message, and so that it will take the second image and it will process and load to S3 bucket. Now, even though the throughput of this the system is 100, throughput of the system is a very less. Both are connected using some intermediate connection. That's why this is called as a loosely coupled. Previous system one is a tightly coupled, and this one is a loosely coupled. And also previously the above one is called a synchronous connection. This is asynchronous connection. So that we are not going to lose any images. It may take time, it will process and load it. But here, if the first image processing, if second image come, if this system is busy, it will not accept that image. So that image will failed. That request will failed. That is what this queue will do. This is SQS. Normally it is queue. Under AWS, this service called as there's service called as SQS. SQS stands for Simple Queue Service. Simple queue service. So what it is saying, queues are powerful way of combining software architectures. There are two software architecture. One is a, in our example, one is in a front-end web application, another one is in a image processing. So those two it will be combining. They allow for the asynchronous communication. This is the asynchronous communication, because what is the synchronous? Synchronous means whenever the first application is sending message, second application should receive. That is the synchronous. Both are synchronously connected. Asynchronous means it is whenever the first message, first system sending message, that will not receive. Whenever the second system is ready, then only it will receive. That is asynchronous communication, right, between the two different systems, are especially useful when throughput of the systems are unequal. See, the front end application throughput is a very high. It will accept the as many images as come. But the second system, which is nothing but image processing, it may take time. It will not like instantly just accepting. It will need to process that image. For that, it may need some time. That's why the throughput of the first and second image are not same. That's why both are asynchronous, are loosely coupled using queues. Nothing but SQS. SQS nothing but simple queue service, right? SQS are reliable, scalable, fully managed message queuing service. Reliable, scalable means whether you are sending message continuously, it is considering taking the messages. It's a easily scalable. It's a fully managed. We don't want to create the instance for that. We don't want to do anything. More or like it's a Snowflake kind of some SaaS application. It is also SaaS application only, right? SQS supports both type of the queues. There are the two types of queues, standard and FIFO. We'll see both in detail later, in coming in later. Now, standard is a higher throughput with at least once delivery and best effort ordering. FIFO nothing but first in first out. Whatever the message comes first, that message only we need to process. That is a first in first out. But in standard, there is no ordering. There is no ordering. So see, this is my queue. This is my queue. There are some producers are there, consumers are there. Producers will send a message, right? For example, same example, this is my front-end applications. Front-end applications. We can have the multiple producers also. We can have the multiple applications also. Multiple printed applications also. When there is a message, when there is an image came, it will send a message to queue. And these are the consumers. In our example, consumers are nothing but, what is the consumers here? Image processing, right? Image processing. So when this consumer is available, it will pull the message from this SQS queue. It will process that message, right, and will send the next level, maybe in a S3 bucket or some other where it want to load. Like these are the producers, these are the consumers, this is SQS queue. Clear? Now we'll see the standard queue. Fully managed. This is a fully managed service, and here we don't want to keep any creating the instance and all not required. So it's a fully managed service. Okay. Next one is a scale from one message per second to 10,000 messages per second. It can even, there is a 10,000 messages, means what does it mean? If even there are the 10,000 messages comes from here, it will accept. It will easily scale. It will easily scale and it will store, right? Now, default retention period is a 4 days, maximum 14 days. Means, for example, when any message come to my queue, how long it will stay? It will be stay maximum up to 14 days. Means that message, for example, in our case, let's say for example, let me clear few of things. For example, this send a message here. This message will stay here. This don't know when this image processing machine will pull that message, don't know, but it need to wait here for how long, for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, 4 days, depending upon your configuration. Up to 14 days you can configure. Up to 14 days you can configure in such a way that that message will be stored in the queue up to 14 days. No limit how many messages can be in the queue. There is no limit like how many messages are in the queue. There may be 100 messages, 200 messages, up to, there is no limit how many messages it can handle. Low latency is nothing but request between the response, time between the request and response. Here it is a very low latency. Can have the duplicate messages. It can have the duplicate messages. Why? Because at least once delivery required, that's why there is a duplicate message also available in a standard queue. limitation of 256 KB per message sender means whatever the message sending by the publisher to the queue, that message size is a 256 KB, right? We'll see. Visibility timeout. Let me first go to here. I will explain first these things. Let me select the SQS, simple queue service. Click on simple queue service. Let me try to create the queue. Click on the create queue. See, we saw the two options, standard and FIFO. Standard and FIFO. For now, we'll keep the standard. Provide the queue name. For example, my first queue. Right now, this option called visibility timeout. What does it mean? Right? Let me go back here. When a consumer pulls a message from the queue, the message is invisible to other consumers for the defined period of will called visible timeout. Let me show you this diagram. For example, let me take this one. For example, there is some producer as well as there is a consumer, right? Or let me take the multiple producers, multiple consumers. One consumer, two consumer, three consumer. There are three consumers, and this is my queue. And there are the multiple, consumers and producers, right? There are the three consumers here. There are three producers here. There are three producers. This is my queue. For example, a consumer one sends some message. For example, message M1. Message M1. Message M1, right? Now, this is a this is a producer, opposite I said. This is producer, this is consumer. This is C1 consumer, C2, C3, producer P1, P2, P3. Right? Now, producer 1 send a message to the queue to do something, and consumer 2 pull that message. Consumer 2 pulled that message. Right? Now, now it may take some time. I am assuming some time is required. For example, 1 minute is required. 1 minute is required to process that message, or maybe simply I can say 10 seconds. To process this message, it may need a 10 seconds. Right? Now, meanwhile, consumer 1 also try to pull that message. Consumer 1 also try to pull that message. Then what will happen? It also will do process the same message. Means there is a one image that is already processing. There is a one image sent here. One image. What does it mean? This C2 when it took the message, it will pull the that image from that particular server. That from front end it pull the message. It pull the image it is trying to processing. Meanwhile, it pull the message. It also trying to pull that same image here. The same image is processing twice here. This is not recommended. This is not recommended. That's why what is the option called? What is the option called? Let me clear this all these things. So when there is a image came for processing, this will send a message here. That message pulled by the consumer 2. Pulled by the consumer 2. Now and it takes the 10 seconds to process the message, not image. To process that message means to understand that message, right? What it will do? It will start visibility timeout. Means whatever the time is there, for that time it will be invisible to any other consumers. It will be invisible to any other consumers. So that what it will do? It will pull that image to my system and it will start processing. Meanwhile, if other consumers are trying to process, that message is not available. If there is a M2, there is a M3 by other consumers, that can be pulled by other consumers. The M1 message is invisible. That is what visibility timeout, right? That is what visibility timeout. See here. For example, message came, first message came. Let me take the pen. For example, there is a one first image I1 came that send a message called M1, right? That M1 is pulled by the consumer 1, for example. Then it will apply the visibility timeout for the given period of time, for example 30 seconds. Meanwhile, this M1 is not visible. M1 is not visible, so that this second consumer cannot be use the same message, so that it cannot be processed the same message. For example, if it fails to process, then it will back after the visible timeout. After visible timeout, M1 will be visible again. Now, maybe this consumer or this one can pull that message again. They can start processing, right? That's what. That is the visible timeout. Now go here. You see visible timeout is showing in 30 seconds. You can configure up to 12 hours depending upon your processing, right? You can up to 12 hours you can process, right? Message retention period 4 days. You can up to 1 to 14 days, whatever the time you want based on your requirement. You need to select. There is a kind of some delivery delay, means it is like what it will do. It will provide the message. Whenever I'm sending the message, there maybe you can add some delay, so that other consumers cannot consume it, right? But the maximum size is equal to 1024 kilobytes, right? 1024 kilobytes, maximum size of that message, right? And encryption, whether you want to enable or disable, leave it. Encrypted type, leave it. And access policy, who can access, right? Basic, use simple creation, like who can access, whether only the queue owner or any specified AWS account I am using. Similarly, who can receive the message, only queue owner, like based on our configuration you can select this option. Now go back here, retrieve policy, this all are not required. We'll go on here, click on the create queue. Now I have created the queue. Now if you see here, this is my queue. Let me here the few details, my queue name and all options are available over here. Now go back to queues, right? There is a one queue is there, right? Now we have created the queue. Now here, for our for here I am we are not able to let me go back to OneNote. Here we cannot we don't have any real producers or consumers here. We don't have any real producer consumers here. That's why in a Snowflake we'll see kind of S3 will send a message, that we'll see later. For now, what we can do, we can do kind of some send and receive message. Click on send or receive message. For example, I am going to give hi SQS. I send some message. This is an optional meeting. All are optional. Click on send a message. This is my producer, right? Send a message. It sent a message. Now if you see message available 1, right? Message available 1, right? Right? Message available here message available in a queue. Message available in a queue is 1, but in the receiver side there are no messages. There are no messages. If you poll message, means we don't have any real consumers or producers. That's why we created the send message, means that is we send a message as a producer. Now poll message means there is option called poll message. Poll per message means it is pulling message from queue to my consumer, so that it will do pull the message. Click on poll message. Now I can see the message came, right? Click on this one. You can see body hi SQS, right? Some attributes, some details and all we can see here. Click on done. Clear in doubts. So in a real time, where we'll use in Snowflake, and before also we'll discuss later, and in real time where we'll use this one, right? For example, this is my S3 bucket and this is my Snowflake. Inside Snowflake, I have created the one database. So if there is any files, that file need to load into my Snowflake tables. So there are the two ways of loading the data. We'll discuss in coming sessions. One way is a bulk loading, another one is a continuous loading. In a continuous loading, automatically when file come, that file automatically load to Snowflake. How it will be? We need to create the one SQS here. When any file comes, it send a trigger message over here. And there is a service called Snowpipe. It will pull that message, it will process it so that it will load the data from S3 bucket to the Snowflake. That's why we are discussing about the SQS. This is the real-time use case. when any new file is came into my S3 bucket, this is I am saying S3 bucket, this can be any like Azure Blob or anything. Simply we can call this is in a stage. Simply we can call it is in a stage. When any new object or file added to stage, that will automatically need to load to Snowflake. How it will do? It will send a message to queue. From that queue, Snowflake will pull that message so that it will load the file into Snowflake table. Clear? Any doubts here? Okay, if no doubt, that's all for today. Tomorrow we'll see SNS and we'll jump into Snowflake topics. Thank you.